Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Complete Sports Media, and we've got a really special guest here today. I can't believe how excited I was all week, as I knew that my next guest, Greg Kettner, was going to be joining me. I'm going to give you a really good introduction, but I just want you to say hello. Hey, Greg. He's
Hey
right
everybody,
there.
hey Darren.
Hey, Greg.
I'm just as excited to hang out.
Yeah, and this is going to be fun. Yeah, we go back over a lot of years, a lot of really fun stories. You're one of the best storytellers that I've ever met and I ever will meet. And I can't wait to hear a lot of the great stories coming from you. You've got a ton of experience in these types of settings now. You were so fantastic at getting on stage and doing comedy shows and getting on stage and doing corporate retreats. Now you've had to retreat to your office and do these Zoom calls, and I know you're getting to, quite to be the expert at that now. But I just want to explain Greg's background to all of our viewers and listeners. Greg is a corporate comedian, corporate speaker that really wants to interject humor into everybody's life. Greg's always been a funny guy, very quick-witted, just had a really great sense of humor. Got out of school and got really into a lot of different careers, a lot of different jobs, and sort of settled on a corporate sales job. Didn't make him happy, made him rich, but didn't make him happy. And so one day he was out with a bunch of friends having festivities like you really like to do as the extrovert he was. And they happened to be at a comedy open mic night. And some of his friends dared him to get up on stage and do a little stand-up comedy bit. And that changed his life. He's got a lot of life-changing moments that we're going to get into today. But I really would love you to just explain that life-changing moment, getting up on stage, doing that dare, and doing stand-up comedy for the first time.
Yeah, no, for sure. And thanks again, Darren. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
It's been way too long.
I know. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we got to make it a habit. I think we should be doing this weekly. We'll have a lot of fun. It'll be the best hour of our week, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly, right? And once we get over this COVID cough, then we can either I'll go up or you can come down. We'll have some golf and make some more stories.
Exactly.
But yeah, no. I believe we met at the Canucks. I worked for the Canucks. I'm an Oilers fan.
Yeah.
You can see my game-worn Gretzky in the background.
I'm a Canucks fan, and I spent lots of years doing that. And we both kind of came from the sporting life and sporting world, and sort of have moved in lots of different directions. But yeah, I know. I love that you are wearing the jersey. I decided to sport mine too because you were wearing yours.
And homage to where it all began.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I was working for the Canucks doing corporate sales, the suites and sponsorship and season tickets. And we gone out one night and had a couple of pints. And there was an open mic stand-up comedy show. And I've always been the kind of guy that's been able to make people laugh or retell a joke or whatnot, just kind of quick-witted. But there's no way in hell I was going to go on a stage in front of people. I mean, luckily there was only 8 or 9.
Oh, good.
we were such a big deal the first time. But we're there, and these guys, and in my head I was thinking like, oh, well, I can be that funny, but I didn't have the nerve, right? So the guy's like, oh, you should go up and tell one of your jokes. I said, oh, no, I don't think so. So I did some negotiating, and they paid for my tab that night. I said, if you pay for my tab, I'll go up.
Nice.
So I went up and had a great time. I don't remember really what I talked about. I think I was just talking about the event itself and why I was standing here, probably because I had one or too many Labatt's, whatever they were. And so, yeah, I did 5 minutes and loved it. So I went to the guy who ran the open mic. I said, hey, when do you have this again? He said, we do it every Wednesday. So I went back every Wednesday and tried new stuff and new stories and jokes. You just got your 5 minutes. But, a year and a half later, I was working for Yucks and middling and getting paid and touring. And so that's kind of how I got into the speaking thing, all because of a dare.
Yeah. Well, luckily I was there at the beginning. Saw
Yeah.
you get up on stage in the early days. Was a fan. I went to a lot of shows, and you made me laugh. A lot of your eventual really close friends made me laugh, and it became such a great thing to do. Such a great night out, and you were still continuing to work in the sales world for quite a few years, and then one day I entered the SkyTrain station, which is our subway
Yeah.
line, the SkyTrain station here in Yaletown. And I bumped into you just out of the blue. And I said, "Hey, what's been going on? I haven't seen you in a little bit. What's happening?" And you said, "I've went comedy full time." And it gave me goosebumps. It, made me a bit emotional. It made me feel really, really happy and excited because I saw a guy in that sales world that did good financially, but not happy, not doing his true passion, not really living the life that you wanted to live. And now the stand-up comedy was going to become your life. I was just thrilled for you, realizing that dream and being able to just make that decision. I was really happy for you, and I don't know if I've expressed it enough to you, but it was inspirational, and it was really great to see somebody do what you did.
Oh, that's cool to hear, man. And yeah, it became my passion, and through the comedy, doing stand up, I got to tour Canada and the States, and I met, ran into my wife. We went to college together, but reconnected through comedy, and now I'm speaking, and I get to basically I make a living by making people happy, and it's
Yeah.
mind blowing. But no, thanks for your kind words, and you never know just in life when you're living your dream who you inspire, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So you have no idea the impact that you have on other people.
Yeah. No, you were very inspirational. All the people that I run into that have a dream, find out what they're passionate about, have a dream, and take the steps to get there and realize it. I really have a lot of respect and a lot of admiration for them because a life isn't well lived unless you're happy almost all the time. You wake up, it doesn't feel like work a lot of the time when you're doing something that you're passionate about. And I feel like you and I are kind of twins in that world. And what you're doing right now is exactly what I'm doing right now. You're doing with humor, I'm doing with sports. I
Yeah.
want to inspire people to follow sports because sports has given me so much of a life. I'm so passionate. I feel so excited every day that I get to watch sports and feel the joy that comes with it. I played sports. I was an athlete for many years. And then when I realized I can't do this professionally, it's not going to happen, I decided to go to broadcast journalism school, get an education so that I could be that reporter in the locker room, standing there with a microphone 10 minutes after the end of the game, asking that athlete how he felt
Yeah.
playing that game, having that moment. And then I could uh, take that information and give it to the people that want to know it, people that are Oilers fans, Canada fans, Canucks fans, fans around the world. And it felt so great. It felt
Yeah.
so great for me to realize that dream. And it was so great to see you realizing your dream.
Yeah.
And right now we're doing the exact same thing. We're just doing it with different industries. You humor, me sports, and I think together we can really achieve everything that we want to do in this world as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that feeling when when your team scores the goal or wins the Stanley Cup, right? It's euphoria, it's happiness, and that's the same thing I preach, because when we are happy, endorphins are released into our brain. It's a natural high. It's free. It doesn't, there's no hangover, and it's good all around. And you mentioned there, working for the Canucks and stuff. And you've seen a lot of the behind the camera scenes as well too, right? The bowels of GM Place or whatnot. Who was one of your better interviews?
Definitely the favorite person that I've ever talked to of all time is Wayne Gretzky.
Right on. And why?
Yeah.
Why?
Just
To
to be the greatest of all time and to be so humble and so giving of his time. He didn't have that ego that we see in too many people that reach the heights that he reached. He seemed to be confident, but not egotistical to the point where he wasn't able to have a conversation with you. And anytime that I ever spoke to him, we had interactions. I just left there feeling so happy that he was such a great guy.
Yeah. No, and just, I mean, yeah, like you said, humble and the jersey. My brother got that for me for my college graduation, and then I was doing sales for the Seattle Thunderbirds. Patrick Marlowe played there, Chris Osgood, a couple other guys, the juniors, and so we were doing a charity event for Ronald McDonald House, and we had connected with Gretzky and a bunch of other guys through Jeff Courtnall. They had a traveling charity hockey team out of LA. So there's Cuba Gooding Jr. was on there, Kiefer Sutherland, obviously Gretzky, and a bunch of these guys. And they came up, and my coach in Seattle knew that I was a huge Gretzky fan, and he had played with him in Edmonton back in the day. And so he said, hey, I think I might be able to get Gretzky to sign your jersey, bring it into the rink. So on the weekend, I get a phone call from my coach. He's like, hey, do you want to, I need some help down in the locker room. So I walked in the locker room, and it's completely empty, except for my jersey, Wayne Gretzky, and Lord Stanley.
Wow. Wow. Holy cow. That's a moment, eh?
It was crazy, right? And
Wow.
I sat down like, I'm Greg. He's like, hey, I'm Wayne. You know, it was just like what you experienced, right? Just very humble. He's the greatest, one of the greatest athletes, and obviously the greatest hockey player ever. But he was just a nice guy. And, you know, we sat down, and I asked him about hockey, and he asked me about selling tickets. You know, he was curious. He was genuinely interested. And you know, then it came time. He's like, all right, I got to go. I'm like, perfect. And he goes, oh, you want me to sign the jersey? I said, absolutely. He goes, do you want to make money or do you want to keep it?
Really?
And,
That's hilarious.
I want to keep it. So it's to Greg, Wayne Gretzky, and I've had that for about 20 years now.
Wow.
But yeah, just one of the nicest guys, and he didn't have to be. You know,
I wasn't planning on getting into my Gretzky story, but I might as well really quickly entertain our viewers and listeners. I had an opportunity to go and attend Team Canada's training camp for the World Cup of Hockey, which happened in 1996.
Okay.
They held it up in Whistler, and my company at the time said they wanted me to go up and cover the whole entire training camp. So they put me up in a hotel. We went up there every single morning. We went to the rink. They did a practice. They went into the locker room. We did one-on-one, and we did interviews with the guys. And then we all went outside, and we had a big buffet lunch out in the back of the Whistler Arena. Yeah. And I would grab my food, and I'd sit down at a table, and then next to me would be Wayne, and then Mark Messier and Curtis Joseph, and just players from Team Canada. And it was just unbelievable. And we'd be laughing and sharing stories and stuff. And then everybody would say, what time's your tee-off time? What time's your tee-off time? And we would all go to the golf courses, and we would play golf. And then I would head off on my day, and they would all head off on their day. And one day I went to the media relations guy, and I said, I really want to get a one-on-one with Wayne Gretzky sometime this week. My bosses would really love this. So they said, okay, we'll see what we can do. So I would say it's about maybe Wednesday through the week. I get word that, Wayne's willing to sit down and do a one-on-one with me. So we enter a room after he got dressed and the practice was done. He got dressed. We entered a room. We sat down. We talked for, I'd say, about half an hour, one-on-one. It was just absolutely fantastic. And I just felt thrilled beyond belief. I left there. I filed the stories, and I was really excited. And I met up with a colleague of mine and his girlfriend and another girlfriend of hers. And we went through the village, and we got to the drugstore in the village, and the girls said they wanted to go in and get something from the drugstore. And I said, I'm just going to stand outside and wait. So I'm standing outside waiting. The three of them had went into the drugstore, and all of a sudden I turned to my right, and Wayne and Janet Janet Gretzky, his wife, turned the corner and started walking towards me. And because it was the day before him and I had this long interview, he recognized me and he said, "Oh, hey Darren, how you doing?" and I was just, wow, holy cow, I can't believe he still remembers my name. This is amazing. So Janet said, are you coming into the drugstore with me, Wayne? He said, no. And she's like, give me some money then. So he reached into his pocket, pulled out a big wad of money. And as they were exchanging it, it fell out of his hand and it fell on the ground, bounced and landed on my foot. And it was just sitting on my foot. And we're all looking at this roll of American money. And Janet just swiped it off my foot, went into the drugstore. So him and I started talking about hockey and just little things. And we're looking out at the village. And he said, wow, I've never been to Whistler. This is a pretty unbelievably beautiful place. And I said, yeah, holy cow, is it ever? I said, are you going up to the top of the mountain tonight for the big dinner? And he said, yeah, I'm scheduled to go up there. He said, must be a pretty credible view. And I said, yeah, you can't even see the top of the mountain actually from here. It goes much higher. It's just incredible. You'll love it. And then I thought to myself, there's a concert tomorrow. I wonder if you've heard about it. So I said, yeah, there's a concert up in the bowl there tomorrow, same spot we're going to have the dinner. Did you hear anything about it? He said, no. And he said, who's playing? And I said, Bare Naked Ladies, Ashley McIsaac, May Moore, a bunch of Canadian bands. It's going to be fun. And he turns and looks at me and he says, Bare Naked Ladies, is that a guy band or a girl band? And I said, oh, it's all guys. And he said, oh, that's a pretty interesting name. And I said, yeah, funny, hey? And all of a sudden, there was a bunch of kids that were just below us, sitting at a table, an outdoor table, talking. And all of a sudden, one of the kids turns and looks and realizes it's Wayne Gretzky. And he says, holy fuck. and all of a sudden, he jumps up and comes over to Wayne and he takes off his ball cap. And he's like, could I get your autograph? And he said, are you guys going to win it this year? And Wayne's like, yeah, we're certainly going to try. And I would say within a minute, we were just inundated with kids and people and just swarmed by autograph seekers, people trying to take pictures and stuff. And suddenly Janet comes out of the drugstore, taps him on the shoulder, and he's like, gotta go, guys, gotta go. And just as he's walking away, he goes, see you tonight, Darren. And he keeps walking. All of a sudden, all the kids turn attention, and they start looking at me, and they're like, trying to think, like, how do we know this guy? Is he on the team? And we're like, gee, can we get your autograph? I'm like, you don't want my autograph, kids. No, I'm nobody. And Wayne leaves, the kids leave, and my friends come out of the drugstore, and I'm like, oh my God, you just missed all that just happened. It was like a snuffleupagus moment, you know? You're like, you just missed Gretzky and Janet, and the girl said, oh, we saw Janet in there. We didn't know it was her, but we saw her in the drugstore. So, but it was hilarious because he was just so down to earth. We were just chatting, having fun, talking about whatever, and just a great moment for me. Yeah. Really great.
Right. And what great people. I mean, I met them both a couple of times, and they're just genuine people. I ran into his daughter Paulina at Doolin's during the 2010 games down there at Randall and I can't remember the cross street now. But yeah, we were sitting at the bar and she came and sat down beside me. I leaned over and going, you're Wayne's kid. She's like, don't say anything. I'm like, all right. So we had a beer and that was it. But like, nice. You could tell that it was their kid, just, humble and kind and nice and polite.
I know you love social media, but I was bothered by social media on Sunday really badly. Twitter. I went on to Twitter after Dustin Johnson, Paulina's fiance, won the Masters. And I went on to see some of the tweets that were, possibly going to be given by some of the reporters that were there and, some of the people. And trending in Canada was Paulina, not Masters, not DJ, it was Paulina, and it was just Paulina. I'm like, I'm turning Twitter off. I'm not turning Twitter on for a while here. I was irritated. I'm like, come on. Dustin Johnson just realized the, lifelong dream,
Yeah.
putting on the green jacket, winning the Masters, and we're talking about what his wife's wearing. His,
That's social media
maddening.
blessing and a curse.
Exactly.
I think Twitter's the gutter ball of them all. Like it's just it's people that and I don't know this. I haven't done the research, but it just seems like people have nothing better to do than to spew whatever's on their head, and they feel that they can get away with it because it's not face to face.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
just,
that's the trouble, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
there was some mean tweets on there, and we do see Jimmy Kimmel put them on and have the celebrities read their own mean tweets.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you can kind of get a laugh out of that, but I don't know why people have to be that way, why they have to get on there and try to make themselves laugh by saying mean things and inappropriate stuff. It's no good. What I love is the Humor Lab.
Yeah.
You have decided to create a Facebook group for humor, social media. You've always been a Facebook guy, and I really appreciate that. I never was until recently started on Facebook. But your Humor Lab has got 10,000 followers now, only created since this pandemic hit.
Yep.
And you must be so happy, so excited. It's blown up, and people are loving it, and you're getting to inject that humor to everybody's life every day with that.
Yeah, it's a great thing. I don't know where I came up with the idea, but the pandemic hit, and I was in my my house for 2 weeks. We go to the grocery store, but I mean, I've filled up the car twice in the last 8 months. We don't go anywhere, right?
I see.
And so I just started this group because I need an outlet. I'm not a good introvert. And so I said, well, let's just start a group. And then I thought, well, who do I want to get in there and laugh? And I'm like, well, it'd be nice if my mom could laugh at it or my, my 16-year-old daughter. And so the two rules that I had was PG-13 and no politics, right? Especially down here, right? I mean, back home being from Canada, I mean, yeah, sure, stuff comes up and we deal with it, but it's 100 times crazier down here. Yeah. And so I didn't want any of that. I mean, there's enough, if you want to say what you want to say, do that on your page. And so I put together this group and I sent it out to 20 friends and said, hey, if you can add some content to this and send it on to some of your friends, that'd be great. And I woke up the next morning, there's 150 people on it. Nice. And just kind of went, but it's great because sure, I'm the guy who started it, but it's all about the group members, right? There's 10,000 people. We have people from Pakistan and South America and Africa, like the continent. We got all the continents. We have almost every state, almost every province. But it's a fun place to go to and relax and have that laugh. And now people are reaching out to me and saying, thank you so much for doing this. I had one gentleman on the back coast or the East Coast. I'm talking like I'm in Newfoundland. That he just said, it's COVID. I've gone through that. I'm going through a divorce and I had some health issues. He goes, it's been a really crappy year. He goes, but when I need that pickup, I go to the Humor Lab and it's great and it does wonders for me. It takes me from, being in a bad mood to being happy and laughing. And that's the beauty of it. That's what I'm most proud of. Okay. Is the people that I have no idea who they are and their days are better. And they're, when you're happy, somebody else is happy. When you meet them, you can make them happy. And it's paying it forward, right? Yeah. Whether it's a laugh or a smile or a thank you, it's so easy to do. It's free, and it's amazing therapy, right? I mean, we spend so much money on medical and healthcare and vitamins and this and that and yoga. All that's great, but if we treat each other the way we should be and sharing the laugh, that goes a long ways.
Yeah. Yeah, you go to Facebook, punch in Humor Lab, and you see 3 little face-painted eggs there, and that's how you can find it. There are other humor pages. I recommend getting rid of all those and just going to the Humor Lab and making it your daily thing. It's really nice to break up your day. If you're stuck in your home office like Greg and I are quite often, and you realize, I've been sitting down for 20 minutes, half an hour, it's time to get up, go out, get a little bit of fresh air, come back, inject a little humor back into your day, and then get back onto the task at hand. Greg's
Absolutely.
very big proponent of putting a little bit of humor into every hour, every part of your day.
Yeah. Yeah, and the research, there's more and more all the time. Humor and the effects of humor started being researched around 1980, 1985. And they found now that a good belly laugh can burn 15 calories.
Okay.
I was like, oh, what else? And then so then I looked through the list, and 30 minutes of sex burns 40 calories. And I'm a practical guy, so I tried combining the two, and
Why,
I burned
why
like
not?
400 calories just running.
That's great.
Right? So
I'm glad you mentioned. I'm glad you mentioned the study. Tell our listeners and viewers about the Harvard study that you saw about the how many times a baby laughs and how many
Oh
times an
yeah.
adult laughs.
No, well, it's interesting, but it's sad. As babies 1 to 3, the giggling and all that. So they studied babies that age and different age groups all the way up. Babies on average laugh 300 times a day.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, I thought they pooped a lot. This is
Yeah. It's good that we love hearing the sound of babies laughing.
right, and it's not as smelly. So 300 times a day. But as adults, I mean, we have life and stress and finances and relationships and everything. Only 17 times a day
Wow.
that we laugh, and that's
Wow.
average.
Wow.
So
It's like once an hour, basically, once an hour that you're awake.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, that's not good. Yeah. Well, you're doing a great thing then, injecting more humor into everybody's day. We got to get more laughs. We got to reduce the calories and laugh a lot.
Right.
Have lots of belly laughs.
Yeah.
Just in case our viewers and listeners don't know, they see some of the Canada gear on Greg. He's got the Oilers jersey and the Canada Gretzky. They might think he's in Canada here. I'm in Vancouver, Canada, but Gretzky, this guy, Greg, is actually in the place that never sleeps. The city that is so nice that they had to name it twice.
Yeah.
You think of maybe the Big Apple when I mention those words. I would call this town the Big Onion, Walla Walla, Washington, and it's kind of it's a beautiful spot, but it's sort of in the middle of no civilization. Yeah, you got 4 hours one way to Portland and about 4.5 hours the other way to Seattle. Why Walla Walla, and why did you end up there?
Well, you've done your research, buddy. like I think he knows more than I do. Yeah. No, Walla Walla is it's native Indian for many waters.
Okay.
Right. I thought it was until I heard that it was crappy drivers. We have horrible drivers here.
That's funny.
So why? Oh yeah, why? I went to school down here. Went to a private college, liberal arts college, and met my wife. We were friends at the time, but she was dating somebody, and I was trying to date other people. Didn't work out so well. I played a lot of hockey, so I'm Canadian. Grew up in the Rockies, and then we came down here for school. And there's a bunch of us. There's about 15 or 20 of us guys, and basketball's big down here, right? So we did intramural basketball. I don't think we ever completed a full game because we foul out. We didn't know that you couldn't hip check on a layup.
Oh, really? Wow. You're trying to learn a new game and still bringing the old style.
Yeah, right. You foul a guy, and you're like, the first time I got fouled, I walked over to the penalty box. And the guy goes, "Where you going?" I'm like, 2 minutes. Is that 2 or 5?
That's hilarious. I love it.
So we didn't, we weren't good at basketball. So there's a little tiny ice rink. It's probably about a third of the size of a rink. So just shorter than Red Line home. And we just started playing hockey. But it was just, we're all buddies. And so to pay for the ice, we we were called the Walla Walla Wolves and the Walla Walla Selects. And we,
Okay.
whatever jersey you put on that jersey kind of thing. And we were charging
Nice.
these guys the students $5 to come and watch us.
Wow.
So I did
That's
that and
awesome.
went to school, and then I moved out to Seattle and worked for Nike, worked my way up there, and then Seattle Thunderbirds and the Canucks. And then I was doing stand-up, and I ran into Becky again down in Eugene, Oregon.
Wow.
So we went for a coffee and stuff. We ended up dating, and then she moved back here 6 years ago with her daughter, and I moved here 4 years ago. So it's a great town. It's a great town to have a family. A great town if you have a lot of patience for crappy drivers. But we also have a lot of wine here as well too. So this is the new home, even though I miss Canada, but I've got an amazing family, and I'm lucky. And stepdaughter's 16, so she's going through 16-year-old stuff.
Yeah.
But
200 wineries, did you tell me that's down there?
yeah, just over 200.
Wow.
So they're getting really good at the Malbec and the Cab Sav here. Not a lot of white, just because the growing conditions were pretty hot, and just the altitude. It needs to be a little bit more cooler, more wind for the white grapes. But yeah, no, it's a great valley for that. And the joke is here, people, where should I go for wine? Well, we tell them to go to Napa for the auto parts and Walla Walla for the wine.
That's a good one. I love it. Nice. There are quite a few famous Walla Wallians. There's, I think Greg's going to, in probably about 4 or 5 years, be the most famous one out of there. But I want to sort of touch into the sports world and some of the most famous people from Walla Walla. Drew Bledsoe.
Yep.
The famous thing about Drew Bledsoe, probably most people don't really know that name because he played his career a little bit ago, but he was the QB that got hurt, and then the GOAT took over. Tom Brady took over from Drew Bledsoe and took the Patriots to 6 Super Bowl titles and became the greatest of all time. Drew Bledsoe was a fantastic quarterback in his own right, but he's kind of known as the guy that got hurt to let the GOAT in the door.
Yeah. No, and Drew's a great guy. He has a winery here. So he has two different labels, Double Back and Family Bledsoe Wines, and he's another Wayne Gretzky. He's a Wayne Gretzky of football.
Yeah. If
you didn't know who he was, he'd talk to you about his wine and ask you about your kids and your dog, Bledsoe. I knew you were going to say that one. What's next? Who's next?
The guy's name is Eddie Feiner. You ever heard of him?
No. Who's Eddie Feiner?
Okay. Eddie Feiner was considered the greatest softball player in history of softball.
Softball, really?
Yeah. And he was called the King, and he was almost unhittable. So he decided to take a few guys around and become like the Harlem Globetrotters of the softball world. And what they would do is they wouldn't take like a Washington Generals team around with them. They would play a local select team from that community. So I saw them in my communities when I grew up, and they went to 100 countries around the world and had these performances, these games.
Sure.
They played about 10,000 softball games, and they almost never lost. I'm gonna put his statistics up online when I post this, and people will be blown away. He had something like 930 no-hitters, 230 perfect games, something like 14,000 strikeouts, and they won 9,730 games or something.
Oh, that's crazy. Now, what era was that? Was that 80s or 90s or?
I think it started like in the 60s, maybe.
Okay.
And, went through like the 80s. And he was an amazing guy. What he did was he decided, really, we only need 2 or 3 players, and we can beat any team that takes us on. So he originally had himself, the catcher, and I think a first baseman. And then he decided, I better have a shortstop too. And so they would travel around and they would challenge any team, and they would say, we're going to kick your butt. and they did. They beat almost anybody that they played. They barely ever lost. And he was a showman, big entertainer, super fun
That's
guy.
cool.
And yeah, it was really cool that he's from that town.
Yeah.
Yeah, I there are a lot of more famous Walla Wallians, but you know, we'll get into them next time. We'll get into
Yeah.
we'll do a Walla Walla corner. We'll talk about a couple of more famous ones, and we'll get into it. It's kind of cool to look into the history of towns and communities where people are from, and yeah, I'm excited that you're there. It's a beautiful place, and when this border opens back up and COVID, you know,
Absolutely.
calm down, I can't wait to come down and enjoy some wineries. Yeah, get some hospitality from you in that community.
Do some golfing too.
Yeah, for sure. I really honestly think, you know, we could do this on a weekly basis. I in my thoughts as I prepared for this and as I thought about all the things we could talk about, I probably came up with dozens upon dozens of hours of material and
Oh,
things
for
like
sure.
that. Yeah, and it kind of made me think that it was possibly like the life you lived while you were the stand-up comedian. You had to wake up in the afternoon probably, and you
Right.
started preparing that night for getting up on stage and
Yeah.
entertaining. And now you're doing that in the corporate world. You're getting a date to stand in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people and having to prepare, you know, getting up and what you're going to say.
Yeah.
Did you like that creative process? Did you like all that went into and still goes into what you're going to say in front of people?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you know, comedy is great for anything in life, right? Um, Another good people to emulate or you know pastors. You know, if you want to get in the speaking world, but I got my chops doing stand up, right? I mean, you do 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and then you know you get a break and they have a joke that would land and just kind of kept on going. But the creative process was great. I've got notebooks. I don't know where they are, but I probably have 5 or 6 notebooks. And I know if you look up Seinfeld, he's kept every joke that he's ever written. It's just
Wow.
reams and reams of the yellow legal pads.
Wow.
But it's just, and you know, making people laugh, it's different. If it's an older crowd, it's different. Just before I left Vancouver, you know, the crowds were getting a lot younger, and these kids were coming out there and sitting on a stage with a notebook and like, oh, isn't this ironic? Like, I don't have enough money for uh, my rent, but I can afford a cell phone and a skateboard. Okay, so it's you know it's a different and it's a lot different now just because everything's so you know the PC movement, for lack of a better term, right? But everybody has so many rights. You can't make a joke anymore. I was listening to a podcast, Seinfeld, and he won't do colleges anymore because
Wow.
there's always some group of person that will dig up some. We're talking about Jerry Seinfeld,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah.
You know, we're not. So it's changed, but
Sure.
so that was a creative process. You're always writing, always trying. You know, you'd say the joke maybe 4 or 5 times at different shows, and you tweak the setup or the punchline or the callback, and just kind of you're out there testing. You're throwing stuff out to see what lands. And now that I'm doing corporate, it's more specific. You know, the science behind humor and how it, you know, less stress, better
Yeah.
mental health, being more productive, being more creative, earning more money, rising the ladder, right? Because people are attracted to people who are happy and people who can make them laugh. And so the subjects, you know, aren't as far in between. But so now I'm speaking, but now I had to kind of reinvent a little bit because it's, you know, with COVID, we're having to do this virtually. You know,
Yeah,
I
of
did a
course.
keynote in the same room. I mean, I was
Wow.
standing, but I had a suit jacket on and a nice shirt and my shorts and flip flops.
Wow.
You know, they
And you
had no
got
idea.
that and you got the microphone behind you, so you can do,
Yep.
yeah,
No,
corporate
no.
speak, stand up anytime you want. There it is.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, different world.
But you know, but it's still I'm you know always writing. I wrote a joke yesterday after listening to my parents. We did a family Zoom call, and I said parents have the best advice. My dad was right. I've only been married for 2 years, and I'm already losing my hearing.
That's a good one. Nice. I talked a little bit earlier about life-changing moments,
Yeah.
and as I said, you're a really amazing storyteller, and a lot of the stories that you have told, uh, I remember, and I'm sure a lot of people will have this. I know for a fact that there'll be two people that will remember this night for the rest of their lives, and I'm really excited to have you tell this story. I kind of thought I wanted to tell it myself because I wanted to feel the great pride that you must have felt. I wanted to feel the emotion. I wanted to sort of invoke that on this call, but I'm hoping you can.
Okay.
I want you to take us back to you hosting a comedy night, and a man and his son walk in and sit near the
Oh
front,
wow.
maybe at the very front, cross their
Yeah.
arms, and didn't look like they really wanted to be there. Didn't look like they really wanted to laugh. And you decided to interact a little bit with them. Tell us the story about that night.
Yeah, that was wow. That good memory, buddy. That was Stages on Broadway there, and we had I think it was, I don't know if it was like Friday nights or Thursday nights, but it was in that hotel there in the lobby, or there's like a little bar with a really tiny stage. It was probably about 8 feet wide and whatnot. But yeah, I tell that story all the time. The power of making someone's day, or you never know who you're going to affect. So I ran this room, and it was, we get a headliner, and then there'd be a bunch of amateurs like I was, and yeah, that I remember those days. This takes me back. This is good stuff.
That's great.
And so you described it like I was saying the story, right? They came in, they walked to that front table right there, and they're sitting like this, like they were hardly even drinking their beers.
Wow.
And so, like you said, you try and gauge people, like, oh, okay, what's their story? But afterwards, it was when and I don't know if you were at the conversation, probably because you know the story better than I do. But I asked them. I said, "Well, where are you guys from?" They said, "Well, we're out of town." I said, "Well, why did you stop by the comedy show?" They go, "Well, we're staying in the hotel." And so one thing led to another, and come to find out,
I want to stop the story there because you sort of missed a little part that I think you should put in before they have that conversation.
right? Put that in.
Yeah, please, because so you're up on stage, and as you as I know what it's like to be a host of a comedy show. So what your job is to do is to sort of entertain the people, tell them where the washrooms are, tell them where to get the drinks, tell them that they're allowed to laugh, that you've given them permission. Please don't heckle. You're supposed to do that kind of thing, right? And so, right, and you had sort of said that to them. Please, please laugh, please laugh. And then as the night wore on, you saw them laughing. You saw them really having a fun time and a good time. So I thought that sort of was important because, I wanted the viewers and listeners to be able to realize that these guys came in and didn't really seem like they were wanting to have fun, but then they ended up having a good time.
Well, that was the thought on the stage. I'm like, why are you here? Like, you know this is a comedy show, and you're just like, but you're right. As each comedian went over, all right, whatnot. So by the time, I don't know if it was Irwin Barker that was headlining that night or not, but by the end, they were having a good time. They were high-fiving and like, oh, remember, blah, blah, blah. And so we're talking, and I said, oh, you're from out of town? They go, yeah, we've been staying in the hotel for the last 2 months. My wife was in hospice with cancer, and she passed away last night, the night before. And I was just like, heavy. Like, oh, okay, well, you walking into a lobby bar and ordering a beer and sitting there at a comedy show not smiling makes total sense. And he said, and it was the first time that my son and I laughed since I'd lost my wife and he had lost his mom. And it blew me away. Like, and that was the night where it kind of flipped in my head to going, I was getting up to get laughs from people. And from that night, well, the next show on, my mission was to give laughs instead of get. And
Yeah.
it's a minor thing, but that's, that's life. And going back to when we were talking about the beginning, how we both love what we're doing, right? If you find your passion and if you think about how can I do good for others, it's not work. It's not drudgery of getting up in the morning like, oh, I got so much to do today. It's like, what do I get to do? Who do I get to impact? And thank you for reminding me of that story, because the way you told it was like, go ahead, Darren, tell the story. That's
I would,
exactly what
yeah,
I was.
I love doing that because I have a good memory for stories. I grew up in a family where my grandfather was the storyteller, and every time we gathered around the dinner table for special family dinners and holidays, he would bust out stories, and for the most part, they were stories from when he was a teenager into his early 20s, and we had heard them 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, a lot of times, and a lot of my family sort of just rolled their eyes and continued to eat their dinner. Maybe weren't as engaged as I always was, but I just saw this pure joy for him to hearken back to days and laugh and be emotional and really have a moment to remember his life and share stories with his family who he loved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really very big for me. This was a guy that was a military man who was pretty stern. He was not emotional until he had a heart attack,
Yeah.
and he was in hospital recovering from the surgery. And myself, my mother, and my sister went to visit him, and we were all pretty worried, pretty sad and scared for it all. And my grandmother was in the room with him when we arrived, and my grandma jumped out of her chair and blocked the door and pushed us out into the hallway and said, okay, so this is the thing. Something's happened to him since this, and he's getting emotional. And if he does, just ignore it. Just pretend that it's not happening, and just don't let him see or make you notice that he's crying. So we were all like, what? And it was kind of a shock because I had never seen any tears in his eyes ever, no matter what. All the stories that he told, no matter what, I never had. So I was quite like taken aback, thinking, no, that probably isn't going to be the case. Sure enough, he saw us, he got emotional, he told us some stories. It seemed to touch him to the point where he thought he was maybe going to lose his life, and every moment forward was a gift. And he would purposely tell stories every time I saw him from that moment forward where he knew he was going to get emotional, and he would still tell the story because he didn't care anymore. And it changed my life because I was that way too. I didn't want to cry in front of anybody. I didn't want to show that emotion. But when a tough military guy like him, a guy that I never saw that from, was able to allow that side of him and show it, and even pursue it with stories, it changed me, and it made me think, hey, I can still be a tough guy and tough man, and still have some tears in my eyes.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, tears is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really nice that he gave me that gift and he gave me that permission. You have gone through heart troubles yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you want to get into that, but I was sad to hear that, and I was super happy that you've been able to come through that, and you seem healthy, and I'm really glad. Were those life-changing moments for you?
Yeah. I mean, you're laying on an operating table, and there's wires in your heart, and they're doing heart surgery on you. And you go into it, and I remember, is my mom, and my dad were there. So once they wheel you through that door, you're like, am I going to see him again? And then the last one, it was actually done at VGH. I had what they call a tachycardia, so my heart would go about 220 beats a minute. So
Wow.
when I had like an extra spark plug, it just was short circuiting. And so they had developed this procedure out at UBC. to where they could go in and I don't know what they call it, but it like almost solder this AV node in your heart. And so they did that, and then they tried putting me back into the tachycardia to see if it would work, like manually do it. And
Okay.
it went back into the tachycardia, and like, we can't get you back out. We don't know what to do.
Wow.
So they'd
Wow.
done the surgery, and then here I'm laying on this cold slab, and my heart's just going nuts. And they said, all right, we're going to, this is the last thing I remember about this surgery because I was awake. So it was a local anesthetic in a vein in my leg that they just kind of fed these tubes all the way up.
Shocking.
And so he's like, all right, well, the only thing we can do is get those paddles out and restart your heart, kind of thing. I'm like, oh, cool. I want to watch. I've never seen that before. And the doctor goes, no, you're gonna fly off the table about 6 inches. So we'll sedate you. But I do remember making the surgeon laugh before, and then I woke up and it's been fine ever since. And that would have been, 30 years ago.
Wow. Amazing, eh? Well, I'm glad your family was there for you and helped you through it. I'm sure it must have been, sort of scary and challenging, and but it made me think of you a little bit when I heard about your heart troubles, and I wondered, how much of a life-changing moment that was.
Yeah.
You and I, we started interacting with each other quite a bit over the years, and we kind of came from the same place, and sort of had the same sort of modus operandi to our day, to our week, to our careers and stuff. And you wanted to be involved in sports. I wanted to be involved in sports. We were always also really liking to be out interacting with people, being social, and we partied a lot.
Yeah.
And I always looked at my partying as just having fun, just trying to be social, just trying to meet lots of people, having a lot of laughs, really having a lot of fun. And then it got to a point, at some point in my life, where I realized that some of the fun was being taken out of it because there was excess, and I was drinking too much. I had drug problems when I was a kid, and I realized, wow, I got to address this stuff. And I was, over the years, realizing that everybody has stuff. Every single person that exists has stuff. Either they're the middle child, they're the dark, they're the black sheep, they're, something in their family messed them up a little bit, and it's hard to get over. And you and I were spending those years thinking a lot that we were having fun, but then it started becoming not as fun. Because there was, moments that you can't remember the story. You're out having fun, and then the next day your friend calls you and you're like, oh, I don't remember that. And that's not a good situation to be in. So everybody has stuff. And the thing that I really love about you so much right now is that you're tapping into everybody and trying to say that, hey, we're all coming from different places. We all got stuff, but we need humor and we need passion. We need to find that thing that makes us passionate and inject it into our life and have humor coming in through that day, so that we don't take ourselves too seriously. We don't, have that stuff being dug up and we're trying to forget by drinking, doing drugs, all that kind of stuff. And it's, really good on you that you've found your calling and you're really helping people all the time.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate that. Like you said, that we're kind of cut from the same cloth, right? I mean, we're about the same age, and we had the same experiences. We still have, similar friends in Vancouver, and now we're both doing what we're doing. And like you said, I'm using humor and you're using sports, but we're still bringing people together. We're putting smiles on their faces. We're bringing up, the good memories, and that's what's going to make the world a better place.
I want to hear lots of stories from you, but I do have a story that I believe involves you. We talked briefly yesterday, and I started bringing up some things, and I don't know if you have the same memories as I do. So I want you to tell me if you were part of this the whole night, part of the night, where you were in this story. So It was a lot of fun. I'm actually going to just play out my day, and you interject yourself wherever you were
All
that
right.
night. Okay. All right. So I got up first thing in the morning, put on my ginch, my long ginch, put sweaters on, got all bundled up. It was super cold outside. I put on my Canadian tuxedo. I went outside. It was like -10 or something brutal. I started my truck remotely. I put on the hip, and I went inside, got myself something to drink, and then got ready to go. Headed off to Timmy's. Went to Timmy's. Got a double. I started thinking about what I was going to do for my day, and I was thinking, oh yeah, I got some hockey, I got some curling, I got some I got some things going on. I think maybe comedy later. Yeah, so I started really thinking about my whole day. So I was driving along, and boom, I ran into Gretz. He was just walking along, just out of the blue, and he was wearing a white jumpsuit. I don't know. We'll get into that later, but I don't know. It was really weird. He was wearing this long white jumpsuit. So we started talking. Him and I were talking about grapes, and we're talking about bubbles, and we're talking about Trudeau. And boom, we bump into Trudeau. So we're like, holy cow, this is amazing. And of course, Trudeau and Gretzky start talking away, and I'm sort of off to the side, just listening to these two great ones talk and thinking, oh man, this is amazing. This is a moment that I wish I had a lot of friends around that we could get into chatting about this. So he said that we should go. Why don't we go for some breakfast? So we went to Denny's, and I ordered some back bacon and maple syrup and, poutine and whatever. Really had a fantastic, Canadian meal. And they were just chatting away. And I guess the reason why they were all around was that they were heading to the Canucks game. There was a big event going on at the Canucks game. Yeah. And there had been a lot of media about it, but it wasn't widely known what was happening. But everybody said, okay, make sure you're there early, be there for the game. So we started driving along, and we end up seeing this polar bear walking along with a couple cubs, and we're like, holy cow, what the hell is that? This is pretty strange. Okay. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's Canada, guys. That's Canada. And we ended up throwing them some Timbits that we had picked up at Timmy's, and feeding them big time, having a blast, feeding them. They seemed to really be happy about that. And then I look over to my left, and I see a cougar. And I'm like, whoa, okay, I'm seeing a cougar. I'm seeing bears and back and forth. This is great. So she was driving a Firebird. She was listening to the hip and some Lover Boy, and she's looking pretty happy. She had the Farrah Fawcett hair, and she looked like she was in her glory. It was pretty incredible. We end up driving up through the reservation on the North Shore, and we come along, and we bump into a moose. And I'm like, holy cow, guys, look at that over there. Can you believe this? And they say, no, we're looking at the beaver over here. There's a beaver here making a dam. Let's check this out. This is pretty fun. So I'm like, wow, oh man, we're just getting inundated with Canadiana. This is a sign. This is a really big sign. So the afternoon wears on. We end up driving up, and we go to Rogers Arena, the old GM place. We go in there, and Justin seems nervous. He's really, wondering. I'm kind of wondering what's going on with him. And then he says, yeah, I'm nervous about the special guest. I just want to make sure I do the proper thing. I wonder if I should be doing this, or I should be doing this, or I don't know what to do. I don't know. So we end up deciding we're going to go get some beers, and we're going to get ready for the games and stuff. And somebody comes up to me and says, hey, did you know there's a bunch of fights tonight? And I said, oh, yeah, I heard that. And he said, yeah, well, make sure you go down and don't miss them. So I said, great. So we went up to the bar. I'm standing there ordering some beers for all these guys. And I bump into Seth Rogen. And he had just been to the dispensary. And so he's like, hey, we should make sure we go outside a little bit later on. I'm like, all right, no problem. And so then Seth sees these guys, Gretz and Trudeau, and starts chatting them up. So then all of a sudden, I think we went and talked to some of the corporate people that sell the tickets there, and we're trying to figure out where our box is and what was happening. And so we all go down we wait for the elevator. Wait, elevator's too long. So we go downstairs. We're flying downstairs. We turn around the corner and boom, we bump into the special guest, the Queen. And it was like, hey. And so we're all like, not sure what to do. We're unsure if we should curtsy, we should bow, what we should do. She's there to, I guess, drop the ceremonial puck and that. So yeah, we ended up going and we started watching a bunch of the fights, and the fights were great. But then a hockey game broke out. It was kind of boring, you know, not that great. It wasn't that fun. So we decided, let's get out of here. And I think I talked to you, and you said, hey, why don't we meet up at the Narrows? So we met up at the Narrows, and I think you might have a picture. I think you showed me the picture. Show it to our viewers right now. You might be able to pull that up. It's us at the Narrows with a trophy and some fun. So while we're at the Narrows, we start discussing what we're going to do, where we're going to go, and we're all talking about comedy. So we talked about the comedy mix, Yuck Yucks, and the Urban Well.
There it is.
There's the picture. Wow. There it is. We look pretty happy holding the trophy. Oh, there's 2 trophies there. We're having a blast. So yeah, there we were having a really good time. I love that picture. Send that to me.
Back then.
I know. Don't we? Yeah. So then we discussed, let's go to Yuck Yucks, let's go to Comedy Mix. And then I said, no, I want to go back to Kitsilano. I want to go to the Urban Well. So we go to the Urban Well, we walk in, and you decide to do a little bit of stand-up there. So you go up on stage, you did, I don't know, maybe 5-10 minutes. And then all of a sudden I see your attention not on us anymore. You're looking over at the bar, and I see you turn and you look, and it turns out it's who?
Robin Williams.
Yeah. Okay, tell me that story. Robin Williams. You met Robin Williams.
That was a long walk in the park to get to Robin.
That was a bit of a long story short. Robin Williams.
All the people that I happen to run into over the years, all in one place. I'll finish with the story because I got to go to the bathroom. It was the Urban Well there in Kitsilano. And Tuesday nights they had a 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock show. I was on the early show because I was a rookie. And, you know, we get there and you'd each get 5 minutes. There'd be 4 or 5 of us. But the pros would be there too, and they would vote for the funniest guy or funniest comedian on the early show. They got to open the late show. So that was, we're trying to do our best and do our best. And that night, there was probably 6 people, including the bartender in there, you know, boyfriends, girlfriends, and the comedians. And halfway through my 5-minute set, the door opened up and in walked Robin Williams, who was my, you know, hero, comedian hero, you know. And I was like, in my head, I was like, whoa, wow, he's watching me do stand-up.
Wow. Amazing. What a moment. What a moment. Did it make you nervous or excited or both?
I just kind of like, well, it is what it is. But, you know, I'd been working at the Canucks long enough, and I was the guy that if a celebrity would come into town, I would go give them their tickets for them to the hotel, do all that kind of thing, because I treat everybody equally, right? If you're the Queen or if you're Seth Rogen having a beer or whatnot, it's just treat them like regular people. I love it. So I thought I'd do the same thing with Robin Williams. So I blew him off. I went and sat down beside him and just kind of started up the conversation. And it was Vancouver, right? So I was like, well, you sound like you're from America. And he goes, yeah, I'm from San Francisco. I was like, oh, what are you doing? You up on vacation? Or he goes, no, I'm filming a movie. I'm like, oh, are you the camera guy? Do you hold the microphone? And just looking at his face, he would look at me going,
just pretended that you didn't even know him at all.
Yeah, just blew him off, right?
Nice.
And the look that I got back was, he's like, why is this John Goodman guy? I have no idea who I am. So we had a conversation, and he's like, you know what? I go, what movies have you been in? And he said, Mrs. Doubtfire. I'm like, no. He goes, Good Will Hunting. I'm like, oh, do you know Ben Affleck? And I could just tell that he was annoyed with me. And he goes, you're messing with me. I'm like, absolutely. And so we sat there and, you know, had a 15, 20-minute conversation. And then the guy who ran the room, Sean, came up and said, hey, we'd love for you to do, we have a 9 o'clock show if you want to do some time, 10 or 15 minutes. And, you know, I was joking. I'm like, do you have 10 or 50 minutes, Robin? He went up and did 2.5 hours.
Wow.
So it's now 12:30. The bar is packed. They're charging $20 to get in. There's 200 people in there, and that place is tiny, right? But it was a great night, and
I was there.
yeah,
It's just 3 blocks from
yeah,
where I lived at the
where we used
time,
to live,
and
right?
yeah, I was there. I saw Urban Wall shows every week. I
Yeah,
was at my dedicated spot. Brent Budd and
yeah,
Russell Peters, and
yeah.
many
All
really
those
great
connections,
comedians were there all the time.
yeah. Greg Kettner.
Yeah, Greg Kettner. Yeah, I used to know him when. Yeah, I'm disappointed that that place ended up not happening. It's a blues bar now, and it's pretty
Okay.
nice. It's great, but yeah, it's had a few different changes since that Urban Wall
For a
days.
while.
But I love it so much. I want to before you go, I want to do a little speed round. I want
Sure.
you to just say a short few words about these people I'm going to name. So
Perfect.
I want to say your hero, comedy hero when you were growing up was Robin Williams, but also Bill Cosby.
Yeah, Bill Cosby.
Say some words.
Oh, I mean, this is before he went to jail, but he was very funny, very kind, very friendly. I got to meet him a couple times after the show as well too, but just very, very funny and very family friendly, or so we
Awesome.
thought.
Yeah. I mean, PJ-13 and, really good growing up. Unfortunately, had some darker side and, wish that never happened. But Norm Macdonald.
Norm Macdonald, one of the quirkiest guys I've met. He's a funny guy. He bought a joke off me when I got to work in Vancouver. It was I probably should repeat the joke. It was pretty dark. It wasn't off sides. It was just a dark joke. But yeah, quirky, fun, and just a nice guy.
Morgan Preston.
Morgan Preston. Who's Morgan Preston?
Morgan Preston was a comedian that you worked with, and he set the record by doing 50 shows in 50 states in 48 days.
Yeah, Morgan. Morgan's great. Sorry, Morgan. Yeah, no, he did 50 shows in 50 states, the record. A hustler. Funny and a true hustler. Like, I've never seen any comedian work that hard.
Gilbert Gottfried.
Weird.
Seth Rogen.
Down to earth, funny, and probably one of the best laughs I've ever heard.
How about your parents, Mr. and Mrs. Kettner?
Love them. They're good human beings. Good human. They'll give you a shirt off your back. They're salt of the earth. Yeah, I adore them.
Your brother.
Probably my best friend. We've been through thick and thin. We built houses together. We played hockey together, and we still talk weekly.
Your sister.
A champion. Gone through a divorce, remarried. Found out that she had breast cancer a week after she got married, and
Wow.
she beat it. But just a kind person, a great teacher, and a hell of a mom.
Your wife.
Another one of my best friends. My best friend. She's she's something special. She took, like we were saying earlier, how we used to be single and go out and entertain each other and stuff. And she took some sandpaper to me, if you will, and just kind of softened up the edges. But she's a really, really good person and a really, really good mom.
Your daughter.
Adorable. She's salt of the earth. She's always cheering the underdog, and very, very resilient. Just a great, great kid.
I've never seen you happier, Greg. I was always hoping for this life with you. It's fantastic it's fantastic to see you achieve all those dreams and goals and all the things that we went through together. I want you to tell me about being the contestant on the show, The Audience, because you were in a place where you had left a world where you were making lots of money, but you weren't happy, to a place where you were happy, but you weren't making a lot of money, and you had a life-changing decision to make. Yep. And they were coming into your life. 50 people were coming into your life for a week.
Yeah.
To help you make that decision. What an entertaining few episodes of a show. Yeah. And must have been a crazy week to live through.
Yeah, no, it was. I had 50 people follow me around, and I was a stand-up comedian, not making a ton of money, but enjoying my life. But, you know, I hadn't found that somebody special in my life. And I always knew that I would one day end up getting married. And they followed me around and they said, well, what about this? What about that? Your finances and everything. And it was kind of like group therapy. I mean, none of these people were professionals, you know, counselors or anything, but they followed me around. They followed, or they would ask, my brother came out, he's on the episode, another good friend, Colby Fackler's on the episode as well too, and just asked me questions and trying to find out who I was and help me find out who I was. And I remember it was the second to last day of filming, and we were in my little tiny apartment that you've been to many times, and they were just grilling me. And I said, I don't know what it is. I don't know what I'm afraid of. And finally, one of the moms, you know, one of the people that was a part of this, she said, here's a question for you. She goes, if your mom and dad are at a dinner party with their friends and they go, oh, what do your kids do? And your mom says, well, my oldest boy is a psychologist and my youngest daughter is a teacher and principal, and Greg, he tells jokes. I said, I'm scared of that, right? Because I wanted to be like, you know, professional and thought of it at the same level. And I never invited my parents out to see a show because it was at bars, people are drinking, there's dirty language, you know, dirty content and stuff. And she said, well, what would it mean to you? I said, you know what, if I could do a set in front of my parents and prove to them that I am funny, I can do this clean, and it can be PG-13, let's do it. And that was it. So after the next day, after a lot of tears, I called up my mom and dad, and they knew that I was on the show. So they, you know, were checking in and whatnot. And I said, well, it came down to it. You know, I knew comedy, but I've never asked you. And I'm sorry, but I'm asking you right now. And they said, you know what, we're going to be over there in the next 6 weeks. So I went to the owner of Yuck Yucks. I said, hey, my parents are going to be here this Thursday night. Can I get 10 minutes? I don't need to be paid. I want them to see me do stand-up for the very first time. And then I started, you know, I did my regular jokes. I just cleaned them up so they were PG-13 for mom and dad. And the set went well. And the biggest compliment I've ever gotten for my stand-up comedy, my mom said she was having so much fun she forgot to take pictures.
Nice.
I went, but
That's
you know, it's all these little pieces. It's you, it's Andy, it's Colby, it's my brother, it's Becky. It's all these little snippets of time, as if they were, you know, that come in and out of your life that make us collectively who we are. And the more times that we can connect and make people happy and share a laugh, the bigger that web's going to be, and it's not going to be such drudgery and, you know.
Yeah. No, and you said it so brilliantly. I'm glad you shared that. You know, I was disappointed that you sort of felt like you couldn't share that part of your life with them. And I've had those thoughts too. I've been in bars late at night. I've been in watching heavy metal shows and looking around thinking, oh my God, my parents would just go crazy if they saw me here with all these long hairs and and you know, a lot of the moments and places that I went and people that I spent time with. But you know, I was happy to suddenly emerge and just be me. You know, I was a part of, you know, in that family. This is me growing up, but I needed to spread my wings and emerge and go into lots of different places and enjoy myself too. I'm so happy that you were able to become yourself. I was always wondering why there was a little bit of angst there. There was a little bit of a person that didn't really want to feel as happy as you should with what you were doing. And you know, your family is very, like you said, you mentioned what your brother and sister did, but your dad was a doctor, your mom was a nurse. They were all coming with, you know, lots of education and, you know, all of these things. And you say, oh, and I'm just a clown, you know? Yeah. So, you know, but what you're doing, and, you know, after you did that stand-up comedy bit and you were in those bars late at night and you did all that, now you've emerged to somewhere where you can do PG-13 jokes. You can get up on stage and make people laugh. You can be in your office and make people laugh. And you're really doing great things for the world, like all your family is too. So,
Thanks, man.
you know, good on you. Good on you.
Appreciated.
I was in many of those bars late at night, and you know, in that audience, your brother said he was worried about you having a heart attack and you dying because you were out late at night, and we weren't taking care of ourselves necessarily that well. We were living in an excess life, and you know, being up late at night and sleeping through the day and stuff. But we needed to go through that, I believe, to get to the point we're at right now.
Yeah, exactly. It all works out, man, for a reason.
I totally agree. Yeah, man, this is so great. My show is sports. My show is sports focused, but it's so great to, you know, have so many really amazing, life-changing stories from you and be able to, you know, touch base on so much of your story. Let's finish with some sports. NBA draft today. Do you care?
Nope.
Okay. Seattle Kraken.
Interesting name. Are the fans the crackheads?
Hopefully not. Hopefully
the
not.
The crack house. I don't know. But I know Tom Brady, and he'll do a great job there.
Yeah, yeah. Edmonton Oilers.
Best team ever.
Toronto Maple Leafs.
Are they still in the NHL?
I love your joke about the Calgary Flames.
Oh, yeah. What does LeBron and the Flames have in common? Or no, wait, hold on. I should be a comedian. I should know this. What's the difference between a bra and the Calgary Flames?
Tell me.
Has 2 cups.
That's awesome.
And I think that's originally Andy told me that joke.
Really? Okay.
Andy, yeah, I'll give credit to him for that one.
Seattle Seahawks.
Not as good as the 49ers.
Okay.
But I love Russell Wilson. Good human being.
Seattle Thunderbirds.
Great organization. Gave me my start and gave a lot of players their start who went on.
Vancouver Whitecaps.
Good organization. Again, I got to help build that from when they were in the lower league up to the MLS. So a great and Bobby Leonard he's one of the best guys I've ever worked for.
Awesome. Vancouver Canucks.
Best job I've ever had other than speaking and doing stand-up. We had Brian Burke was there. A great leader, a great personality. Everybody thought him was really prickly, but if you thought him was prickly, you never had a conversation with him one-on-one.
Yeah, buy his life story book. It just came out. I've got it behind me here. Yeah, buy it. It's an amazing read. Super recommend it. Yeah, get it for Christmas. Get it now. Order it on Amazon. Fantastic read. I always had amazing interaction with Brian Burke too, and I'm a big fan of his. Golf. Masters, golf in general.
I love
one of your
golf.
Favorite sports.
It relaxes me.
Nice.
Best course I ever played was in Fury Creek up by Whistler, Pemberton there.
Yeah, they filmed Happy Gilmore there.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay, tell me about, really briefly, we're going to finish this off with your corporate speaking gigs. You had the moment in Vegas where it started, and you've just explained super briefly about a lot of the huge corporations that you've stood in front of and entertained them at your current position.
Yeah, I go and help people to build team culture, help people understand how to enjoy their jobs, how to laugh, how to not take their work so seriously or their lives so seriously, so they have better mental health, less stress, more productivity, and ultimately live the life that they want.
Awesome. Vegas getting up on stage for the first time. I know you've told a bit of that story, but just as you walked out on stage, what your mindset was like walking out on stage in front of 3,500 people for SAP, a software company.
It was impromptu, and the MC had said something very derogatory, shut the whole show down. So we restarted, and they'd heard me do, my 5-minute stand-up stick before. They said, keep it clean. And so I went out there and I was like, well, here's my opportunity. Why, when nobody else will bet on you, bet on yourself was the lesson I learned that night. I walked to the middle of the stage and I looked around and I said, my name is Greg Kettner. I can't do any worse than the last guy. And that, you
That's,
know, then I went and told 15 minutes of jokes, and that's that night I walked off a stage and I said, you know what, this is my calling.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you used the ABCs that day, right?
The ABCs.
Yeah. Always be closing.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I got to go on the President's Club trip, which was a $10,000 cruise. I was nowhere near making it. I didn't have the numbers, but I asked. I said, "Hey, can I get on the boat?" And I got to go on the boat. So I went. I did 15 minutes of stand-up comedy in Las Vegas and got a $10,000 trip. Which, if my math is right, that's like 40,000 an hour. I wish I was still my rate.
No doubt, eh? One of your mottos is how to get lucky. Is that
Yeah.
still a motto?
You know, that's a talk that I do in high schools, and just talking to people like, well, I want to do this, I want to do that, and my motto throughout my whole sales career is the more effort you put in, the more you reward, the luckier you get. And so the title is a little bit catchy, so the students will listen, but it's creating your own luck. You know, doing good, be in school, be smart, work hard, and you'll create your own luck.
I saw, Greg, at times in your life where you didn't seem to feel good about yourself. I don't know if it was self-esteem, self-worth. I don't know what it was, but I was really surprised because you were just such a fantastic guy. And it's like I said earlier, we all have stuff, and it came up there. Sometimes that type of stuff leads to people having depression, suicidal thoughts. You've had talks on suicide, things like that. I know that it's been a part of your immediate family. Why is that important to you to have some talks on that?
Well, it's just it's a part of my life now. My stepdaughter lost her father to suicide 2.5 years ago, and it's a real thing out there. It doesn't choose us, or we don't choose it. It chooses us. And the stigma. And I think Bell Canada has their yearly day every year. Let's talk, kind of thing. And I think it's important because if we talk about it and we share our experiences, we're all in this world together, right?
Yeah.
And if we feel like we can reach out to somebody because we have anxiety or we're feeling depressed, that sort of thing. So it's something that we need to talk about, because if we do self-care, and if we work with counselors and doctors and stuff, it's stuff that doesn't have to happen. It's preventable. And so I've educated myself a lot over the last 2.5 years. Now I'm part of a group here in Walla Walla that it's called Men in the Middle, and it's guys hanging out with guys, talking about lives, having the tough conversations. And I say tough conversations because the first time you have that conversation, it's a heavy topic, but the more you talk about it, the easier it gets. We can save lives.
Well, good for you, Greg. Yeah, it's so nice to see you fulfill all these lifelong goals and dreams. And you've given me so much happy moments in my life. You've been able to entertain me. You've been able to be a friend for me. I was really happy to see you switch from some dark days to some really bright days. I just see brightness in your future, and I see you being able to shed that light on so many people. 10,000 people on Facebook, and then everywhere you go, it's going to be probably, you're going to impact millions of lives in your lifetime. Good for you, buddy. Good for you.
Oh, it's what drives me, what gets me out of bed, making other people happy.
So great. Thanks so much for your time.
Right.
I know you're so busy, so we'll let you go, but let's do it again soon. I can't wait to see you and see you in person, have a drink, and catch up really face to face. And all the best to you. Yeah, keep in touch.
Great. Thanks, Darren, for having me, and thank you everybody who listened in, and keep watching Darren's podcast, because he's a great guy and a good friend, and he's doing the exact same thing that he talked about me in his own lane there. So keep following Darren, people.
Thanks again,
All right, buddy.
Thanks. Take care. Okay.
Talk to you soon.
Yeah. I'm gonna quickly sign off, everyone. It's been a long podcast, but I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Really appreciate you coming in. Support our partners and sponsors. Go to our website, completesportsmedia.com, and go to all the podcast platforms and YouTube. And we'll see you again really soon. Take care of yourself. Love you lots. Bye for now.